All right, let's take this story international. Israel has agreed to send more aid deliveries to Gaza following a warning from President Biden. As we learn more today about the IDF airstrike, they killed 7 aid workers mistakenly. Biden demanding an immediate ceasefire in his call with Prime Minister Netanyahu, while threatening to end U.S. support if things don't change. But the White House insists Biden's commitment to Israel remains firm.
How is his support unwavering, but you're also reconsidering policy choices?
Both can be true.
They cannot be true. They're completely different things.
No. And he made it clear to the Prime Minister in his call that our support for Israel's self-defense remains ironclad.
Here to react, Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired 4-star General Jack Keane. General, what does it mean when he says to Netanyahu, start to do what's necessary to have a ceasefire?
Well, what's taken place here is go to a ceasefire and make concessions to achieve that ceasefire. Certainly negotiations have been going on for some time, and Netanyahu has had a 6-week ceasefire on the table for weeks. But Hamas, in those negotiations, has been quite impossible to deal with. Now, what have we done? We just strengthened Hamas's hand rather dramatically and leveraged them in those negotiations. And we should, it's quite appalling. We should stay out of this and give Israel some credit. This is a horrible thing that happened, certainly. But within 24 hours, they admit they made a mistake, they apologized for it, and began an investigation. They've conducted a preliminary investigation, not the final one. They've relieved 2 officers. They reprimanded 2 other officers. And the fact that they relieved someone and reprimanded someone also is a credit to them. And I think what it's going to come down to, likely, is certainly they misidentified the WCK vehicles as being Hamas. It'll come down to maybe what was the evidence you had that this was Hamas? Why did you pull the trigger thinking this was Hamas? What triggered you in terms of this was an okay shoot to begin with? So that's a thorough investigation done by a values-based organization that is holding its people to a very high standard. And certainly our standards are going to be much more than Hamas's. There's no equivalency here. But the Israelis are taking the right steps given the horror of what took place. And they should be given some credit to it, as opposed to being wire-brushed in public and being forced to concede to the adversary in negotiations. That is really outrageous in my view.
And just remember why we're there, October 7th. That's the only reason why Israel is there. They never wanted to go into Gaza, and that should be reminded every day before anybody talks about condemning how you fight in one of the most brutal environments on the planet today. Here's the statement that just came out as we started this segment from the IDF. The investigation found that the forces identified a gunman on one of the trucks, following which they identified an additional gunman after the vehicles left the warehouse where the aid had been unloaded. One of the commanders mistakenly assumed that the gunmen were located inside the accompanying vehicles and that these were Hamas terrorists. So that they follow up the reprimand and everything. It seems to me we have the finest military in the world, and we got the best intelligence in the world. But we make mistakes, too. It wasn't too long ago that under the Biden administration, we killed 10 civilians, including 7 children, because we thought that that was the family of the bomber that blew up everybody at Abbey Gate. It turns out he was loading water jugs. Did you really want Netanyahu to reprimand us then, General?
Yeah, you know, actually, that incident that you're referring to with the 10 killed and 7 children, we called that a righteous strike at the beginning. It took us weeks before we divulged to the American people and certainly to the Afghan people that we made a horrible mistake, you know, as a result of that. And likely similar here, a lot of things went into the judgment that this is actually an enemy vehicle, and certainly they have authorization to strike that vehicle. Human beings under stress in combat situations, these are challenging things. We will hold ourselves accountable for that, and they will do the same. Our adversary certainly isn't going to do anything of the kind, and we shouldn't be forcing Israel to make concessions in these very difficult negotiations that are taking place while they're trying to get their hostages back. And I think implied in this is a bigger thing, Brian. I think the administration, without saying it publicly, really wants this to stop. The fighting to stop right now, put the weapons down, let's end this thing. And if that happens and we leave Hamas with multiple battalions and their leaders in place, they win. And that's the reality of it. And Israel's security is going to be threatened as a result of that. And the people in Israel want Hamas to be destroyed. That is a fact. The majority of the people are completely behind the prime minister in that. They may disagree with him in being a prime minister as an enduring prime minister because they're holding him accountable for some other things, but they all are behind destroying Hamas. Why is that? Because their own security. They're talking about their kids and their grandkids here. And Hamas, their objective is to make the security situation in Israel so volatile that people don't want to stay there and live there. That's what's on the table here.
Right. And by the way, for people at home, according to people we know on the ground, if Benny Gantz was prime minister, he might even be stronger against Hamas than the prime minister. So don't think this is a Netanyahu problem. They want to blame it all on him. I hope they finish the job. They apologize for their mistake. But I hope they do not do a ceasefire that they're not comfortable with. General, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.